Hello and good afternoon, everyone. So thank you again for joining our free online lesson. So my name is Nabil Fikri, an application engineer from ACAD Systems. So for today's topic for free online lesson, so I will share you a bit about the Inventor Rendering Animation Studio. But before we start, so I'm going to share you a bit about our website. Right, so let's say if you want to visit our website, so you can just go to any browser and then just start at the extract, and then you just start at the address bar here, acadsystems.com. Then you can press enter and it will bring you to our main landing page over here. So currently, you can see here we have a phone number for KN also Penang branch. So if you want to call any of these, so you can just find it on number from here. Then you scroll down a bit. So we have a latest Autodesk promotion and news showing over here. Right? Then you scroll down more, you will see the upcoming event. Right? So they will be listed down here. So if you find any event or free online lessons that you're interested in, then you can find, and then you can just click at the poster over here, and this will allow you to join our free online lesson. So if you scroll down, so we have our Zoom meeting link, and if you want to reserve the seat, so you can also click at the reserve button over here. So go back to our main page over here. Let's say if you would like to have a chat with us, if you don't want to contact us through phone, you can also go through live chat from here. Our team available that you can communicate with them. Right? So if you want to ask any question, you can go at the live chat from here. And if you have a support issue that you would like us to help you guys, then you can go to the help desk. Then you can click at the ACAD system help desk. So this is where you can request a support issue from us, right? So over here, you can just create a new ticket as a guest, and then just fill in the information required, and the descriptions. And then once you submit, our available team member will reply to you immediately for support issue. Right, so that is a bit on our website. So let's go back to our main topic over here. So basically this is what we're going to do today. So we're going to do a rendering and some bit on the animations, and we're going to do animation render. So this will be the agenda. So first of all, we're going to take a look at the preparation or setup required. And we're going to take a look at the ray tracing. So this one is just a basics rendering for image. Then we're going to take a look at the Inventor Studio, where we can put lighting and also backgrounds. We can animate the movements, and we can also animate the camera movement. And then we're going to render an image and also video as well for the Autodesk Inventor Animation Studio, Render Studio. Right, so let me show you the Inventor software. Right, so I believe you guys can see my screen here. So I have a sample model show over here. So this is what we're going to render. So the first step is to do a bit of preparation. So first of all, you need to make sure that your item has materials applied. Right, so how to apply materials? So you need to open that item. And from here, you can apply different type of materials that you can select from here. Right, so for this case, I'm just going to leave it to default. So that is some of the things that you need to prepare. If you want to do an animations, so you can add a constraint tools that allow to have a movement. For example, here I have added a constraints that allow to have an animation rotate for this one. So I can click at this constraint here and I can drive this. So this is type of animation that I want. And the other one will be the movement here as well. So I can just play and right. So obviously the direction is not correct. So let me just set to 0 instead. So this is type of animations that I want to bring. Another thing is you will also like to adjust your view. So you can go to the view. So to to have a realistic view, so you can set up from the appearance from here. So whether you can set up for perspective or orthographic, so you want to make it more realistic, then you can set it to perspective instead. So I'm going to set to perspective. And you can also turn on the shadow. Right, so I believe the ground plane is not required. Reflection also can just leave it off. Now to adjust our background lighting, so you can find it right down here, right? So this is the default lighting that we have. I can select one light, I have different lighting, two lights, and so on. Right. So let's take a look at our first and simple way to render an image from here. So here you can use ray tracing. So ray tracing allows to render image in real time. So in order for you to play at the ray tracing, you need to make sure your visual style is set to realistic. So once you set to realistic, then you can select ray tracing. So other things that you can set up from here is the render quality. Maybe you want it to make it performance, so it will become very easy to work with. But if you want to make it realistic, you can set it high quality or maybe render quality and so on. So now that our ray tracing can be used, I can just simply click ray tracings and it will automatically render the image over here. Right, so basically what it does here is actually rendering the image in real time. Then you see the progress here. And once it's done, you can just save this image. So currently it's set to low. So if you want to have better quality, you can set to draft or also set to high. This is just some of the simple way to render a sub Inventor. But so the nature of rendering, so the longer you wait, the higher the quality that it will become, right? So if you want your quality of render to be much more realistic, you need to wait a little bit long. For now, if you satisfied with what you got here, you can just pause and then you can just save on the image that you have. So that is for the ray tracing. So let me turn off the ray tracings. So the better way for you to render is to use Inventor Render Studio. So you can go to the environment from here. Then from here, we have the Inventor Studio. So this is where you can add more setups for rendering and also for the animation render. But before that, you might also want to set up your lighting first and the background. So I already show you, you can set up your lighting from here, but there are also lighting settings that also allow a background. For example, this empty lab over here. So I have this empty lab background, or maybe I want to have a country road. So this is type of background that I can basically select from here, right? So if you want to have your own type of background, you can also do that. You can actually download a HDRI image and then you can add it inside of the setting from here. So let's take a look at the setting first. So let's start with full light. And I'm going to go to the settings. So currently it's set to full light. So I'm going to create a new so that I don't accidentally edit this one. So I'm going to create a new one. So I'm just going to leave it as copy of light. So it's going to create a new one. And from here, I can adjust how I want to see my image. So let me just move it a bit. So how I would like to see my model. So I can adjust the exposure. I can adjust the rotation. You don't see the rotation unless you have the background image from it. So let's say I turn on the display scene. Display scene. And here you can toggle the rotation if you want to. So you can rotate the backgrounds. You can also scale. Right. And then another things that you can do from here, you can also adjust the lighting and also shadow. So again, let me just move this back somewhere on top so that we can see our model clearly. So you can adjust the shadow from here. Soften the shadow. And then you can also adjust the lighting. So currently no light has been on. So I can click to on the light from here, and here I can adjust how I would like to see my lighting setting from here. Right. So depend on your background. So I believe because of environment exposure, so you might not see very clearly. But you should be able to see it once it has been turned on. Right. So that is the background. Right. So let's say if you have downloaded HDRI, so you can just use upload image from here. And then you can just add that HDRI image that I downloaded somewhere from the internet. Right. So I believe I use HDRI Heaven. Just as samples. And I can hit save, and I have this type of background. So you can also do this. So this one is acceptable if you only want to use for rendering image. However, if you would like to render a animation, especially if you have camera movement, so that one might not be acceptable, because if I try to move here, you can see that the background is actually moved somewhere like that. So if you want to render with animations, then you want to use the one that Autodesk has been provided. For example, the empty light from here. So you can see my background does not actually move. It's actually moved with the object itself. So that is one. But if you don't have, you can also create your own type of background. For example, adding the 3D object. For example, that you can see here, this table is actually a 3D. Now, let's say if I would like to have a country roads, but I don't want to have this background here. So I can add something like a table below. So let me just click this one. So I can just create and add a new model, something like a table on the floor here. So I'm going to create a new one. So I'm just going to leave it as part one. And I'm going to create somewhere circular that will be acting as a background for our floor. I'm going to extrude this one. And don't forget to add the material for this. So the good type of material will be, let's say, I'm going to use wood instead. And I'm going to hit the terms. Again, as you can see here, I don't see my material clearly because of the lighting, so I need to readjust back the lighting setting. Right, but for this case, I believe the good one will be the country road. Right, so this one I can see it much more clearly. Right, so now we can proceed with the Inventor Studio. So I can click the Inventor Studio from here. So to render, I can just render image from here. So to render an animation, I need to render an animation. So let's start with the simple one, which is render image. But before we do that, so we already adjust our lighting, but if you want to readjust, you can click at the studio lighting style here. You can see this is basically the same type of setting that you can add from here, but it will allow you to add it, and you will add inside of the animation just. So that's the lighting style. So let's say this is one that I want. So I can just right click and I can select TIFF. So it would change to this one instead. If I want to, so I can just edit and save. And you can see the lighting style has been added from here. I can just edit if I want to edit the exposure and so on. So basically the same setting that we have from here. Let's say if I would like to add another type of light, you can also add additional light, which is from the local light here. Whether you want to add point lights or maybe a spotlight, maybe I add a point light from here. So when I light, you can see the lighting has been added from here. I need to adjust the position as well, somewhere on top of this. And to add some more type of setting, I can just go here, maybe change the color a bit, and other type of settings that I can choose from here. So now maybe I would like to make it slightly smaller, less detailed. And maybe I also would like to add a point light, so I can select from here as well if I want to, or maybe I just add somewhere beside. And I need to specify the illumination settings. Then I can also adjust the fall off, which is the area of this, the light. So I'm just going to give it somewhere around 20. Oh, sorry. Right. So for the fall off, I needed to make it smaller than the hop stroke. Okay. Right. So that is just a samples additional light that we can add. So to render, I can select render image. And from here, I can select and specify the image size. So the higher the quality, so the higher the size, the higher the quality that you will get. Right. And then just some different type of setting from here. So I can just select render, and it will basically render an image from here. So once I'm done, so I can just stop and I can hit the save button from here. Let me just stop. Okay. So that one is for rendered image. So now I would like to render an animation. So I need to add an animation first. So to add that, you can go to the animate here. So we have an animate timeline. So basically there are two ways to animate. So one is to animate based on the component, and the one is animate based on the constraint that you can select the constraint that you have added before. So that will be the animation rotate that I have put here, and also the animation for the move. Now I'll show you the component first. So the component is where if you don't have constraint, then you can use component. If you have constraint, then you cannot use component. So I've tried to use component from here. And to animate it, I can just select the component. Let's say I'll select this one, and then I use position to basically try to move it. But so it will not allow you to move because you already constrain this item together. So that is the reason why you cannot. But for the flow here, I don't put enough constraint, then I can move it. So that is for the component animation. But for this case, we don't want to use component. So we want to use a animate constraint from here. So I can click here. So first thing is, again, it will pop up the animate constraint, and it will also pop up the animation timeline from here. So this is where you can adjust the timeline for the video. So the animate constraint here, so the first thing that we can do here, we can specify how long the duration of the movement from start to end. So currently set to previous, so it will start from the start. So let's say if you already create up until 2 seconds, then it will start until 2 seconds. Since we haven't created yet, so it will start from 0. And I'm going to set it until 5 seconds. And the items that I firstly want to animate will be this one. So I'm going to select, and I need to select the constraint here. So the animate here, and how many degrees that I want this to rotate. So I'm going to rotate at 2 rotations, but I would like to rotate, let's say 8 times. So I'm going to times 8. So it will rotate 8 times with the duration around 5 seconds. So I'm going to click OK. And it will add this timeline from here, but you don't see it much. To see it, you can just click at the expand action editor from here, then you will see that it starts from 0 and end till 5. So let's start to animate. So I'm going to start from the beginning, and I can select play. Then you will see the animation is now has been added from here. Okay, so you see that the animation has stopped, but the duration is actually still ongoing. So I need to also shorten the duration. So currently it's set up until 30 seconds. So to stop the animation, so I can select the animation option over here, and the duration of the entire line will be around, let's say, 10 seconds only. So we have 10 seconds of animations. So currently we will only have 5 for the rotations. So I want to add another one, which is for this moving one. So I'm going to add another constraints, and I'm going to select the animation move. So we start from 5.5 centimeters, and I'm going to make it slightly closer. So let's say around until 3 centimeters. And the duration will be 5 seconds as well. Others, I can just leave it. So I can just press OK. So I have the other one. So if I click play, so let me just head back to the beginning, and I can hit play. Then we have a bit of animation from. Right, so let me just add another one just to make sure that it end up until 10. So I can just add constraint, same animation for rotate here, just to reverse it back to the beginning. And the other constraint for the move here. So this one is back to 5.5. So when I hit play, it will move and it will go back to the original position. So if you find yourself required to edit back the settings, so to edit, you can just go over here, and then you can just double click at the timeline here, then you can change the value. So this is where you can edit. So don't go at the model tree here because it will confuse and create a new one. So just go at the timeline settings from here, and this allow you to edit the existing one. Right, so that is a bit for the animation. So let's take a look for the other one is to animate the camera. So to animate the camera, so let me just scroll down a bit. So to animate the camera, so you can select camera from here, or you can also select camera from here. Right, so if I click camera, so it will allow me to select the direction of the camera, the placements, the position, and so on. So the other one is I can just right click at the camera, and then I can select camera from view. So the one that I see here, so that will be the camera view. So if I click create camera from view, and you see that the camera is actually created. So this is the view. So if I move it away, you can see the camera is actually pointing on that directions. If I want to go back to that view, in the right click, and I can select set view to camera, it will move back to this view. If I want to, let's say, reposition it, so I can go and try to, let's say this will be the new position. I can right click here and I can select set camera to view. So this will capture this as a new camera position instead. Right, so that is some of the way for you to edit your camera. And now to animate the camera movement, let's say rotation. So you can right click at the camera, you can select animate camera. Now from here, there are two types of animation that you can do. One is you can select turntable, or you can select definition. Turntable allow you to select and specify the rotation area. So let's say I select turntables, and it will give me the degree of freedom that allow me to rotate. So this will rotate along the right here, the right axis here, which is, I believe this one is the X directions, which is not what we want. We want to rotate from the top, which will be rotate something like this. So that will be the Y. So let me just select Y origin instead. So this will be the origin that I would like to rotate, and the rotation settings that will be under the regulation from here. So how many degree per minute or degree per second? So I can select from here. But if I don't want that, I can also select full rotations. So if I select this one at the top here, so this will be complete rotations, full 360 degree. Right. So if I want to rotate 2 times, I can just select 2, so it will be rotating 2 times. Again, we have the duration from here, so I'm going to select OK, and then it's going to add into this timeline from here. We have the camera 1 from start to finish, and I can go back, and if I hit play, you can see that it does not actually move, but we can see our camera is moving from here. Now, to move and follow the camera itself, you can select the current view from here and set to camera 1, then it will point us to the camera. So I believe the camera 1 is actually not pointed correctly. So this is not supposed to be the actual position. So let me just readjust back the camera 1. Let me just edit back. So this will be the position. So let me just click and set camera to view. And let me just open back the animation timeline. Right. I'm not sure. For some reason, the direction is not correct, but let's say we just take it right here. And now I can hit play. Now the camera will be moved. Right, so that is that is one of the way for you to use this method. If you would like to edit, then again, you need to edit from here and not right click and edit from the animation camera, because this one will create a new animation. So always edit from here. And then you can set up the rotation, or maybe I want half on 0.5. So it will only rotate 180 degree. So that is one of the ways. So the second way is we can use the definitive. So I'm going to create a new camera. Again, I'm going to set up a position first. Let me just move right here. Let's say, oh, so this will be the camera position that I want. So I click camera and click camera from view. And now I can edit. Sorry, I need to create animate camera. And make sure to set N until 10, otherwise it will not create. Now I can select definitions. So we're still on our original area, or original view. So I'm going to select link to view. This allows you to move to different area. So I'm going to move to different area here. So let me just use this box here instead. So this will be the new view. So if I turn this one off, then you see this will be the final camera position that you will follow. So link to view. So if I need to zoom in or zoom out a bit, I can just use this one. And once I'm done, I can press OK. And I need to press OK over here as well. Otherwise, it will not save. So I'm going to select OK. Then it will create as camera 2. So make sure to select camera 2. Then I can basically animate it. So let me just start from the beginning. And then I can hit play. So it will move based on the final camera position. So that is basically how you animate. So that is basically how you animate inside of Render Studio. So lastly, to export it out, to render it, so you can click render animations, and then you can select which camera view that you want. So I'm going to set is based on camera, let's say camera 1. And then again, you need to specify the quality of your video. Again, if you make it larger, it will take sometimes maybe hour, maybe days. But the higher the pixel here, the better the quality of your image will be. Now you have output, so this one should be 10 seconds for our full animations. Then you have frame rate per second. So if you want your view to be much smooth, the movement, then you can set it higher. Again, it will take some time if you have better frame rate. So just take a mind. And then lastly, we have the render. So again, how much iteration of the render per image, what type of image filtering. And once you're done, you can just click at the render. And then you can just rename and save. So it will start to render. Right? Right? So this one will render per image, so it will take some time, but basically this is how you can render inside of Inventor Studio. So I'm just going to stop from here, just show you one of the example that I did before. Right? So if I want to, I can also save from here and it will save, but there will be no movement because I haven't finished render the movement. But if I open up the finished one, this is basically the sample that I create, which is finishing one. Right, so the quality is not that great because the pixel that I create is quite small. But if you like to make it better quality, then you need to make sure have a higher resolution. Right, so that is basically the uh, the free lessons that I would like to share. Right, so that is all from me. So I hope this can be helpful for you guys to do a render. And if nothing else, so I believe we can stop from here. So that's all from me. Have a nice day and bye-bye.